topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello, thank you for coming to Next. I'm excited. I hope you all have been listening to our shows. We've had some wonderful people on, and we have a great guest today, Fiona Macaulay. I can't say enough wonderful things about Fiona. She really has into social impact. She's a professor at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., a real advocate for women and has been her entire life. She's written numerous books and actually has a new book out, which we're going to be talking about, Aim High and Bounce Back. And I love the title of the book because bounce back. We all run into difficult situations as we're aiming high, and how to figure out how to bounce back. And that's sort of the next. How do you figure out your next for yourself? Leona is a CEO of Wild Women in Leadership Development, which is a great organization. They do lots of fabulous stuff. And with that, let me bring on Fiona Macaulay.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Fiona.
Hey, it's great to be here with you.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Rebel, I can't hear her.
I can hear her. Go ahead, continue.
I don't know.
Rebel, I'm just checking. You can hear me?
I can. Yes.
Linda, you're muted now.
You're muted. We can't hear you, Linda.
Maybe just let her know there was something she pressed a moment ago that put the mute button on.
Linda, can you still hear us? Because we can't hear you.
I think she might be texting.
Linda, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Perfect.
We can now. Yes.
I can't hear you, though. That's the problem.
Oh, neither of us?
Okay. Back out and come back in.
Do you want to go out and then come
Should
back
we
in?
back out and come back in? Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Rebel, do you want me to do that too, or should I just hang tight?
To be honest with
No,
you.
hang tight.
The recording hasn't started. Okay. No, it's not. It's not. Damn, I hate this one. Come across so crazy. Okay, so recording resumed. All right, so tell us about this bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about, but how did you get into this in the first place? Yourself has such a great entrepreneurial background.
I worked in the global development industry for 25 years, and that's the industry which works towards access to clean water overseas, gender equity, access to healthcare, helping communities grow climate-resistant agriculture. And what I saw, Linda, I had the privilege of working in about 50 different countries and worked with hundreds of different organizations. When I was able to sort of peek into all those organizations, what I saw over and over again is that there was women professionals who wanted to move into positions of greater leadership so they could have more power and influence and have an even greater impact in the work that they were doing and supporting others to do. And that much of the time they were really doing the bulk of the work, but they did not have that formal leadership position or authority.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And for two reasons. One, structural, because the jobs were not good. The jobs were more likely to go to men.
And still are, Fiona.
Well, and still are. In global health, 80% of the people who work in global health are women, but they only hold 20% of the leadership positions.
Amazing statistic.
Right. The data speaks for itself. And so I started the Wild Network, Women for Impactful Leadership Development, to support purpose-driven women around the globe. So across America, Canada, Mexico, Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, Middle East, really women around Europe, women around the globe, to be able to be even more impactful leaders than they already are by curating content both to support organizations and industries to promote more inclusive leadership opportunities,
Wow.
and also to support women to step into their full leadership potential.
Wow. How many years has Wild been going on? A long time, I know, but how many years?
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on a decade. So we'll be doing our 9th Leadership for Social Impact Forum, which is we do an in-person conference in DC every year in May.
I'm going.
Yes, that's right. I'm so excited to have you there, Linda. And that's the thing. That's what's so exciting, I think, about this community is that we have women like yourself who have been leading in the inclusive leadership space in the US for decades. We'll have a lot of certified leadership coaches who come from across America to attend. We also have women coming from different parts of the globe who want to be there in person. And then we have people from across the greater Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area who identify as being a purpose-driven leader, whether they're working for Coca-Cola or working for Save the Children or working for the U.S. government. If they're working for positive social change, they really belong in the Wild Network, and we would love to have them there at the Leadership for Social Impact Forum this year.
So you do, I mean, just because you go to the forum, it's not over there. There's a lot of other things that go into that forum actually after you actually participate, right, Fiona?
Well, exactly, because as you and I both know, Linda, being an impactful leader, it really is a journey. I think most of us wake up every day wanting to be the best leader, the most supportive leader that we can be. And then things happen, right? Where you have time constraints, or somebody says something or writes something to us that kind of throws us off. And maybe we're more impatient than we wish we were. Or we are not taking a calculated risk that we want to be taking, right? We're all working on our leadership skills all the time. The best leaders are. And so we feel, we know actually from the research that coming together, being with other like-minded people committed to leadership development inspires us and fuels us. And when we layer on leadership competencies, that helps us to kind of maintain and even, become stronger leaders. And the one day is really important. We also realize that people want to stay in community.
Yes, absolutely.
So, for example, you and I have a wonderful friend and colleague, Morag Barrett, and every year she generously does a session 1 month after the leadership conference. She does a session that's about how to take small steps towards ambitious goals. Because you know how it is. You go to a conference and you do leave with a notepad or a phone full of things you want to do, people you're going to follow up with. And then, you get, as I say, to misquote Muhammad Ali, you get punched in the face by your email inbox, right? You don't get to all those things. And so what we do is we reconnect the community a month after the event to reconnect people to their goals and then break down, okay, how can you take small steps towards these ambitious goals? Because that's the kind of support we all need.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we used to do, the 30, 60, 90 day, follow up with people, because that happens with executives too. You're in a company and you take people through these phenomenal leadership development, inspiring things, and then they go back into the same old workplace and it's gone. So you really do need that follow up on a regular basis. But I want to jump forward to your Santiago, your Camino walk. Tell us about that. I'm so bummed I can't go this year.
Linda, I'm looking forward to having you on the next chapter accelerator, Camino walking retreat in 2027. So we'll put it in the books.
Absolutely.
So I'm now solidly middle-aged, like in my early 50s. And I went through a big transition when I
Mm.
sold my first social enterprise almost a decade ago. So in my mid 40s. I'd founded this company in my mid 20s, and so for almost 20 years had been scaling a social enterprise. And I was ready to think new things and do new things and spend time with new people, specifically focusing on supporting purpose driven women in their leadership journeys. And I was also interested in teaching at a leading business school. So the time was right for me to sell that company. Up until the day that it sold, I had been busy being the CEO. I had been
Right.
busy managing this confidential sale process, and I hadn't given much thought to what the next chapter would be, except for I knew I wanted to be doing those different things. And I remember the day after the sale went through, sitting on my couch, being like, well, now what do I do? And
OMG.
OMG. And as someone who was used to having power and status with comes from the, being the CEO of a successful, well-regarded company, no inbox, no speaking engagements, no pressing deadlines. And I think I'm voicing what a lot of people, leaders in transition have experienced, though maybe doesn't get said out loud very much.
I think you're absolutely right.
So but what I learned through that journey of then making that transition to becoming an adjunct professor at Georgetown University's Business School, also an entrepreneur in residence there, just starting the Wild Network, is that there was three things that you really need to make a successful transition and to enjoy it.
Mm.
One is community. It's lonely to try and like figure out all these options by yourself and to go through such a change. So having a community of people who are also seeking to make this kind of change or have made or are making this kind of change, extremely important. The second thing is a process, because in a way, the world is your oyster. You've also spent several decades at that time, building up your reputation and your skills and your network. Having a process about how to leverage all of those things, but at the same time not be trapped by them,
Mm-hmm.
is really critical,
Essential.
essential, and accountability. So when a friend and colleague of mine started the Next Chapter Accelerator 2 years ago, I had that experience of transitioning as an entrepreneur. She had the transitioning of working for 30 years at Accenture and was at a managing director when she left. She also, faced kind of similar challenges and opportunities. And so we came together to develop the Next Chapter Accelerator. And the main event that we run it once a year, is a walking retreat on the Camino de Santiago, which is a historical pilgrimage trail. And we do a leg of that trail in northern Spain, which is, I know, on many leaders' bucket list.
Yeah.
So we can also do custom retreats, but the one that we do that's open is at the end of September, early October every year. And we're offering those things that I mentioned. So it's an incredible group of accomplished women, like ambitious, successful women who I think fall into these different categories.
Yes.
And you can tell me, Linda, which one resonates with you. So it's women who are looking for the next big job. Like they're in a big job and they want one more big job, probably before they down gear. It's women who are in a big job and they want to really take a fresh look at that so they can really leave their mark and have the greatest impact possible. So it's kind of rejuvenating your approach to your current big job.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who want to move into a portfolio career. So they want more control over their time, a little bit like I was doing, perhaps. Like I wanted to teach, I wanted to start this not-for-profit. Or there's people who want to have a very, very active retirement. So they're probably moving into a position where they want to maybe sit on a couple of boards, maybe write. And so we have this community.
Do a radio show.
Do a radio show. So Linda, I'm curious, like, as I kind of talked about those people who are in transition, successful career women in transition, what transition would you say you had made?
Well, truthfully, I mean, I was doing fine up until the pandemic because, I was a public speaker, as you well know, and Morag and I wrote a book together, and so it was Thinkers 50 this year that you were at, where Linda Grattan made a comment about how much longer we all were going to live. And, you need to think about what is it that you're going to be, is going to be exciting for you. And that's when I said, I sort of moved into retirement, just like Marshall, who said he was going to retire. He hasn't retired. And I said, I just have too much more that I want to connect and do stuff around. So I would put myself in the latter phase. From a career perspective, I'm excited about everything. And this show is not about me, it's about you. But I do think that people need that kind of reflection. And that's why this walk is so important, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And, it is very meaningful to just be on this historic pilgrimage trail.
Yes.
Some people who have been in our group have been religious, many people not, or people of different religions. But, you're just walking on steps that people have been taking for thousands of years who are also seeking something.
Yeah.
And when you're getting up in the morning in sort of like a small family run hotel in the morning, and you're putting on your walking clothes and lacing up your boots, you're just having these really honest conversations, right? You're literally away from it all, and you're having incredibly honest conversations about what it is that you really want, what you really want to change, what you want to leave behind, on the Camino. And as we were saying earlier, the program doesn't just end with after our walking retreat on the Camino. We continue to have monthly check-ins with the group. There's some coaching component. And in fact, just next week, I'm going out to Houston for the Houston rodeo with the group that was on the Camino last September, because a number of them were from Houston, and they've invited the Canadians and women from other parts of the states to come to Houston to spend a long weekend together. And I'll be running a workshop where people are going to be opening up letters that they wrote to themselves last October.
Very cool.
Themselves, like, what's important to you? What do you want to make sure you're moving towards? What do you want to leave behind? So their letters are going to be arriving in the mail in the next few days. And then next week, we're going to have a morning workshop, touching base with those goals, talking about what's changed, talking about what we're recommitting to, and then enjoying some nice meals and the excitement of the Houston rodeo.
Little rodeo. That sounds great. I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, I don't want to get out of this show without hearing about your Aim High and Bounce Back. Your book that actually just came out yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? Yesterday, I think.
Yeah. We're just 1 week out from the launch.
Yeah. So, and of course we'll have lots of copies of it up in New York.
Yes.
So tell the audience about your book and what they can get from it.
Thank you, Linda. So it's Aim High and Bounce Back, a successful woman leader's guide to rethinking and rising up from failure. And this book has never been more important. I think these messages, these frameworks and strategies have never been important because we need leaders out there making their greatest contributions.
Yep.
Leaders are facing setbacks, mistakes, failures, disappointments all the time. People you admire, right? People in your circle, people you see on social media who look like they're succeeding. I want you to know that they are having some kind of failure right now. Every single one of them, every single one of us. And Linda, in a second, I'd love you to weigh in at something you feel like you're failing at.
Well, I don't know.
But I'll tell you the reason that I wrote this book is because within the Wild Network in 2021, I launched something called the Leadership Fail Lab, where we invited very successful women to talk about a massive failure they were responsible for, really get into how gutting that was for them, and then to talk about how they came out of it and what the lessons are that they have drawn out for themselves and for all of us. So, Linda, a question for you. We had 1,500 women from over 100 countries participating in our virtual Leadership for Social Impact Forum. We had 5 of these very successful women talking about a major flop they were responsible for. The chat blew up. And what do you think the most common comments were?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think it probably was not taking a risk when they should have. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Not facing into what the situation was and not taking the risk.
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. And many comments were saying that and saying like, me too. Oh my gosh, me too, me too, me too, me too. And what I observed in that Leadership Fail Lab and then the others we've done since then is that women really want to talk about their failures. And it's incredibly liberating. It gives you permission to talk about your failure when other women, you know, as I say, successful by any measure, are going first and talking about their failures.
Yeah.
And
fear, I think, is another thing. Just being afraid that if you do it, you're going to fail.
100%. And I'm so glad you bring that up, because in the book, my co-author and I felt like it was important to be clear on like, what are we talking about when we're talking about failure? So we broke down, so we actually did a survey and we had actually over 1,000 women respond in about 30 days. Again, just another signal that women wanted to talk about failure. And we identified 5 types of failure. So I'll bring a couple of those up. Let me start with the one you just mentioned.
And we should do this relatively quickly, Fiona.
Quick. So paralysis, like where
right.
you're more, you want to, you know, something needs to be done. You want to be the one to do it. This may be an entrepreneurial venture you want to start, or you want to put yourself out there for something, but you are not taking action on it because you are so afraid you might not be successful. So you've failed before you even start because the fear of failing is keeping you from moving forward. And those women out there who you see succeeding, like launching businesses or ventures or podcasts or like your radio show, Linda, I just want to leave them with this message. Like, go ahead and experiment. Go ahead and take small steps towards your ambitious goal, because rather you try and it not go exactly as you'd hoped rather than not try at all.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So Fiona, well, first of all, hold your book up again, because people need to buy this book. I mean, it is fabulous. I ordered it and I can't wait to read it cover to cover, but I know all about it because we've been talking about it for a while. But how do people get a hold of you? You know, I mean, you need to spread your message in every major corporation and major groups around the world. And how do people get a hold of you?
Thanks for asking. So I have taken the frameworks and very practical takeaways and stories for this book, plus additional ones, and have a 60-minute interactive keynote that has been incredibly popular with audiences. People want to talk about failure. Women, men, really all leaders, because everyone's failing, as I say, all the time. And most of us are keeping that close.
Yep.
Many of us have a lot of shame around it. And many of us
don't know what to do about it.
Don't know what to do about it. And you're not making your biggest contribution. Your team is not making their biggest contribution because they need to improve their relationship with failure. So I would love to come to your organization, be able to lead you through this interactive keynote, or we can do a half-day workshop together. And the best way to find me is at FionaMacaulay.com. Macaulay is a bit of a bear, so I'm going to spell it. Macaulay, like Macaulay Culkin, child star from the 80s.
Right.
MACAULAY. So
AY.
Yeah, .com. So Fiona, FionaMacaulay.com. And I would love to hear from folks. Whatever the size of event you're doing, these messages are so important. Yep. The demand for them is so universal. And it would be an incredible gift to me, to you, to your audiences, to be able to get these messages out to the maximum number of people.
Absolutely. I'm going to connect you with the GE Women's Network. You're the kind of person that they would love to have, assuming they still have that network, but that's great. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. It was great. I'll see you in New York in a few days, and we can all get your book signed and all that exciting stuff. I'm very excited for you. I've taken a lot of great insights from you, and I really appreciate you being on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda. I'm so glad that this is your new chapter, because so many people are benefiting, including me. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and I appreciate you coming on to the show, and I hope you're getting something out of it, and I hope you will listen to the next one. I hope you find them entertaining, and you can reach me at Linda at lindasharkey.com. And I would love any of the comments that you might have, or any suggestions, or any people that you would like to hear from. Thank you very much, and have a fabulous rest of your week. Bye.